that curve of the dad hat really locks you in on the putting green. It's almost like horse blinders. So I'm not saying you gotta go get your CO hat, but I'm saying you probably should. What's going on, you guys? Connor O'Reilly here with Team OTB Discs. And some of you guys who've been following me since the summer might remember I started a series on how to putt better. It's a 4-part series. We only got through 2 of those parts though. So today we're gonna bring you part 3 on how to become a better putter. If you haven't watched those first 2 parts, you're gonna wanna stop this one, go back, check those out. The first one's gonna be on how to set up a proper mental routine to be consistent mentally on the putting green. And the second one was gonna be how to grip the putter. A lot of different ways to grip it and what way is gonna work best for you. Today, we are gonna talk about the stance that you wanna take and the different advantages of certain stances on the disc golf course, and maybe help you decide which one you wanna settle on to try to be your best putter out on the disc golf course. But you know, enough blabbering. Let's start talking putting. Woo! Like a lot of the parts of the putting stroke, the stance is going to come down to personal preference and comfort. But let's talk about some of the advantages of the different stances. First, let's talk about that straddle stance. People call it a straddle because it's like you're straddling the pony, riding the horse. In the straddle stance, both feet are going to be the same distance away from the basket, so you're going to be really squared off totally with the basket. And to me, the straddle stance is a good one for a number of reasons. The main one is just because you can be consistent and putt the same putt no matter what your lie is. It helps you to straddle left, straddle right of your tree obstacles, and feel a little bit less discomfort than a player who prefers that stagger stance for everything. Now they get to the straddle lie and it doesn't feel as comfortable, but if you putt every putt the same with the straddle, those obstacle lies are going to be a lot easier. And to me, that's the number one advantage of putting with a straddle putt all the time. It's also going to have advantages on those slopes where maybe it's not as easy to transfer your weight from the back to the front, and it is a lot easier to kind of stand nice and firm and just pop your weight up along that nice stable stance that the straddle provides. So to me, those are the 2 main advantages of the straddle. But just biologically or physiologically, it doesn't let you pull the disc back quite as far because your body's right there in the way. So it's a little bit harder to get the momentum out of the arm, and so it's going to require a little bit more acute timing between those legs and that arm to make it happen with the stagger putt, with the straddle putt. So disadvantages of that straddle putt is a little bit harder to generate that momentum. Takes a little bit more acute and perfect timing, if you will, to get it right. But when you do, you really can putt the same putt no matter the lie, and that can be a huge advantage on the disc golf course. Now let's talk about the staggered stance, which is probably the most used stance in the game. Definitely my preferred stance. And in the stagger stance, this back leg, the off leg, the one you're not putting with that arm, is going to drop back, and there's a lot of different ways to play out of that staggered stance. So number one, you can kind of mess with the length that you put that back leg back. The farther back, the more power you can generate, but also now it's going to be harder to deal with those tricky uphill lies, those side slope lies, if you're using a huge step and a lot of your legs. The shorter you are, closer you are back here, it's not going to be as variable depending on the lie, so you're going to be able to deal with those uphill lies, those side hill lies a little bit better, but you're not going to give yourself as much room to draw the disc, and you're not going to get as much rock out of that lower body to generate momentum as well. So while a tighter stance might give you a little bit more control and balance, it's going to sacrifice some power. That wider stance is definitely going to allow you to generate a little bit more power. Now the balance is going to be a bit trickier, so mess with it yourself, see which distance feels like the right balance for you of getting that power, but also still being able to maintain balance and consistency no matter what the lie looks like. The other way you can adjust that stance is going to be just based on how much you close yourself off to the basket, kind of with your foot direction. So some players like to be very straight at the basket, and some players are going to be very closed off, like a Gannon Burr who's almost 45 degrees away from the basket or more, and that back leg in line And what these differences of the angles of your feet and your body angle to the basket, what it's gonna do, the more square you are, you're gonna have, like we mentioned earlier with that stance, the more square you are, you'll have a little bit less room to draw that disc back. The more you turn, the more room you have to draw that disc back, allowing for a little bit easier momentum coming forward. Next time you putt, maybe mess around with a couple different stances, switch the angles of your feet, widen or shorten that back leg. If you like the staggered stance, try a straddle a little bit. Something that I always want to recommend is to be diverse in your practice so you can diversify your skill set on the course. Find what your comfortable stance is that you're going to putt every open 25 footer on, but at the same time, practice those other stances so that when you get there in a tournament or during a round where you're trying to get a good practice round in, you feel more ready for those stances because you're like, okay, I've done this lunging to the left putt, lunging to the right putt. I've done this straddle putt around the tree while I was warming up or while I was practicing last night, whatever it might be. So make sure you're practicing multiple stances, but also find what your comfort stance is so that when you have an open putt and assumably a good lie, footing wise, you can repetitively and confidently hit that stroke. In conclusion, putting is very personal, so mess with it, get the reps in to where you can decide how you want to do it, because if you don't get the reps in, you're never truly going to find the right putt for your body or your preferences. And you know what, if that changes over time, that's also okay. So go out there, mess with some different stances, mess with some different angles, and find the right one for you so you can score your best on the course. That's another little tip from Coach Connor in part 3 of our 4-part putting series. We're gonna have part 4 dropping very soon here, so be looking out for that to try to round out your putting game and become the complete package on those greens, saving you strokes and stress. Don't forget, I'm Connor O'Reilly with Team OTB Discs. Code Connor is gonna get you free shipping when you go get your pink dad hat. It's actually gonna be this color pink underneath. I'm just using it to hide my crazy hair right now. It's not gonna be this sun faded, but it's gonna be a great looking hat on the course. And even in the winter, you gotta protect yourselves. Also, that curve of the dad hat really locks you in on the putting green. It's almost like horse blinders. So, I'm not saying you gotta go get your CO hat, but I'm saying you probably should. Thanks you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.